Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Good evening, Mayor Hedley, town councillors, candidates, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carrie McPherson and I'm the president of the Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce. I'm pleased to be here this evening to bring you the 2022 Town of Neepawa All Candidates Electoral Forum. Firstly, I'd like to thank Jennifer Beebe, our Chamber Office Manager. She's done an incredible job of organizing tonight's event. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, the Neepawa Library, for hosting us this evening, as well as Jeff Descender from Frozen Studios for the use of the equipment. The Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce is pleased to have media representation from NACTV and the Neepawa Banner and Press. As well, thank you to our candidates. We look forward to hearing from each of you. A little housekeeping. Restrooms are right over here. If you need to use the restroom, you can make your way around. We tried to make enough room. Of course, we've got coffee and some water. Please help yourself. Feel free to grab something if you need. We know that tonight is going to be a little while, so please welcome to help yourself here. And now if I might introduce our candidates. Dean Dietrich, Brian Elgert, Daryl Gerard, Marianne Marquez Hunstad, Jason Nadeau, Murray Parrott, Lisa Pottinger, and Yvonne Cicely Doble. And regrets from Marika Kostenchuk. And now I'm pleased to introduce Amanda Nottingale, who is our moderator for this evening's event. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. All right, everybody ready? We're ready for some fun. So thank you very much for the Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to moderate this year's Municipal Election Forum. I appreciate the thought to come up here and moderate tonight's electoral debates. So how tonight is going to work is basically we will have an opening statement by each of our candidates, and we will do that in order. You'll have 2 minutes to have an opening statement. We'll also have an opening statement by Brian Hedley, who is our acclaimed mayor-elect. And then after that, we'll get into questions. So questions first will come from our media representation from NACTV and the Banner. Then each candidate will have 1 minute to answer those questions. All right, and we will do this randomly. I have a randomizer, so you never know. It's whatever the internet decides on. After a couple of media questions, we'll then go to the public collected questions that have been vetted by the Chamber of Commerce, and there are at least four questions, depending on how quickly you guys answer. We might throw an extra 1 or 2 in there. And you'll have, again, randomly selected to answer those questions, and about a 1 minute to answer, or 2 minutes to answer. We'll give you 2 minutes to answer. And then we will go again by a closing statement at the end of the night, and we'll go in reverse order. And then we'll wrap it up and we'll give it back to Carrie. So that is how tonight is going to work. All right, first of all, let us get some comments by our acclaimed mayor, Brian Hedley.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you to the Chamber. I look forward to the day that I can speak without notes, but today is not that day. So welcome and thank you for coming out to the Candidates Forum. The fact that you're here shows that you have a vested interest in the community and those that will be running. All of us here have a desire to see Neepawa thrive, grow and prosper into the future. I find it hard to believe that here we are 4 years later and looking at a new election. I believe it would have been nice to have had an election for the position of mayor, as I think people feel better when they can choose a candidate of their choice. Having said that, I'm proud to be back on council and plan to do the best job that I can. The community should be very pleased with the candidates that have put their names forward, as every one of them are capable of the position. I would ask that as you determine each candidate, keep in mind that these are the people that are representing your community. These are the people who will be dealing with the executive from Prairie Mountain Health as we move forward on the new hospital. These are the people who will be dealing with the provincial ministers, and executive on many important community issues. And these are the people that will be representing you on municipal affairs. When I look at the progress that has been made the last 4 years, I realize the amount of groundwork that has been established by previous council, but I would also like to point out the tremendous work that the administration and staff have accomplished every day. So no matter the outcome of the election, I can assure you, you are in very good hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And congratulations on your acclamation. We will start with the candidate opening comments. I do have an opening statement from Maranka Kostenchuk, who couldn't be here tonight. So I'll read hers first, and then we'll go to you, Dean. All right? So good evening. First, I would like to say a big thank you to Amanda for reading this on my behalf. She actually did write that. Unfortunately, I am not available to be here in person, as I am currently out of the country. Just shy of 4 years ago, I began my first term as councillor for the town of Neepawa, and it has been a learning experience and a pleasure to represent our great community. I believe I have been very approachable for many of our residents and truly want to be your voice on council. I am proud of the accomplishments we have achieved in the past 4 years, but I also recognize the areas we need to improve on. I am dedicated to ensure that Neepawa has a council that is forward-thinking and progressive. If given the opportunity, I would want to be a part of the team to see developments in infrastructure, affordable housing, improvement for recreation, and to see our cemetery project completed and beautiful once again. Neepawa is a growing community with needs for increased healthcare and education, and having lived here for over 40 years, I want to ensure those needs are addressed. I've learned a lot about municipal government during my time on council, and it's not always easy, but it shouldn't be. Making decisions for a community and its residents come with a lot of responsibility. I've been honored to be a part of this process and would appreciate your vote to continue to move Neepawa forward. Congratulations to Brian Hedley as our upcoming mayor and to all the candidates running for council. Thank you all. Maranka Kostenchuk. The floor is yours, Dean.
Okay. Good evening. My wife Meryl and I moved to Neepawa over 30 years ago, and I arrived here as sand store manager. And with business growth, this led to a new building, which Giant Tag currently is located in. I'm currently employed at High Life Foods as procurement supervisor and part of the procurement team, looking after many products necessary to support the operation. I've been involved in local and regional organizations as a community member. I first started here at Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce, and for the first 19 years served under that group, and for 3 years as president. Roxy Theatre, I probably played a part over 25 years with my wife Marilyn and many volunteers allowing the theatre to remain in operation. Regional Health Authority, I was involved in that for 11 years as board member and board chair. I played a part in setting the regional budget to identify Neepawa as the first community in the region to receive a new health centre. Community Futures Westman, 15 years board member and board chair, assisted to establish the need for an economic development officer, and created the Regional Tourism Association known as Tourism Westman. I'm proud to serve Neepawa for 19 years as councillor for Town of Neepawa. I was involved in every portfolio and committee of council. Successes include the establishment of West Creek, Hillcrest, and CN developments. I was part of also establishing Country Meadows Personal Care Home and the formation of the Medical Services Committee, which purchased and developed the Beautiful Plains Community Clinic. Population does not provide the needed revenue to offset municipal expenses. Filling the retail lots in the CN development and expansion of our municipal boundaries is needed for further development of property to add to the tax roll to help control tax increases. I look forward to becoming a dedicated member of council to serve the ratepayers and strengthen our community sense of sustainability. That's it.
Thank you, Dean. Brian.
My wife Judy and I moved here in 1996, and we've enjoyed our life in Neepawa so much so that I've passed on different job opportunities to stay here. All three of our children, David, Vicky, and Dale, were born here and raised in Neepawa. The three children are now out developing their own futures. I've been involved with many aspects of the community. I've been a Sunday school teacher for 6 years, one of the 2 adult advisors on the establishment of a skateboard park here back around 2000. I've been a scout leader for 6 years, president of the Neepawa Rotary. I've sat as chair of the Mission and Services Committee of the Neepawa United Church, chair of the Neepawa United Church, and a board member for 8 years. I've volunteered and captained at the Roxy for more than 8 years. I've been an offensive line coach with the NACI Tigers football team in town here for 10 years. I've been involved with the Town of Neepawa Christmas dinner as a volunteer coordinator. My education includes a master's in business administration, and I think that has value in working within a group such as the Neepawa Town Council. My experience, my personal experience and my work experience has been such that I've been involved in many aspects of a team. I've been a team player, I've been a group leader, I've been a worker, depending on the circumstances, and I step into whatever duty is required of me. I do want to state something here in regards to the questions that we're going to be asked tonight, and that is, I realize a town council must function within a balanced budget. It also needs to function within the rules and bylaws and policies. Town council must also plan in the long term for the most effective and efficient use of resources. And I mention those things because those are some of the parameters that we have to function by as a town council.
Thank you, Brian. Your time is up. We'll move on to Gerald.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all my fellow candidates for stepping up and putting their name forward to seek this council position. Being a member of council in one of Canada's fastest growing communities, it's an opportunity that all of you should look forward to being a part of. It's been with great pleasure and pride that I've been a part of Neepawa for 21 years. Our family moved here on a simple job opportunity, and since we've been here, we've invested everything we can to be back in this community. And every time we've invested time, effort, or money, the dividend has been back tenfold in this community. I think when we see the people on the streets of Neepawa, we're blessed with generations that created a strong bedrock and great traditions that make this a beautiful town. And then we see all the new residents who have come to town, who have created so much new opportunity for our community. And that will ultimately be the responsibility of anyone who is here on council. And that is to make sure that we respect what was established and to embrace the future excitement and challenges that lay in front of us. For those of you who know me or don't know me, if I could describe myself in one word, I would probably say discipline. I believe in discipline, whether it be personal, professional, or public service. So by seeing that, you'll see a person that likes to embrace challenge, but will also take the disciplined steps to make sure that we grow safely and so that we can take on those bold ideas going forward.
Thank you, Gerald. Marianne.
Good evening, everybody. I don't know, I feel like it's a morning, evening. I was born in the Philippines, obviously. I have a bachelor's degree in electronics and communications engineering. I migrated to Canada in 2009. I used to work for a petroleum company as an area manager before I came here to Canada. I've been working for about 13 years with the same company. I manage a store, a grocery store. And my husband and I moved in Neepawa in actually 2018. First, we moved to Dauphin in 2017 because of my promotion, and then 10 months later, we made a big move here in Neepawa. The goal was always to go back to the city, but I fell in love with Neepawa. We fell in love here. We have 2 boys. They are 3 years apart. They're in grade 7 and grade 3, or no, grade 4. So yeah, we basically fell in love here in Neepawa, and this is home now. This is where I'm retiring. They have to drag me out of Neepawa if they want to give me another store. And this is where I found the balance between home, work, and giving back to the community. It's a safe community to raise kids and still not limiting to achieve the dream. Just like you, I have lots of questions I want to answer, so I went up a notch, and hence I am here now. So, and hopefully I'll be able to learn a lot and tell you why you have to vote for me, because basically I want to make decisions and proposals based on if it benefits the taxpayers, it supports the population growth, is it potentially generate revenue for the municipality and local businesses, and basically the future generation can stand on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. All right, Jason.
Hi, everyone. Definitely you realize how hard it is when you go after 5 people because you're like, check, check, they just did all of your points also. So it's really nice to see that we have a good list of candidates for people to vote for, and it takes a lot of character and a lot of effort to put your name forward. So like Daryl said, it's really, really good of everyone to put their name forward. When I first ran for council, I decided I wanted to be a councillor because I want to make things better. I want to leave a change, and I want to make Neepawa better. So this is one of the main drivers of why I work so hard. And if you want to have a strong council, you need someone with a strong voice, someone that's dedicated, someone that's passionate, someone that's hardworking, and someone that's reliable. And those are some characteristics that I come to every day. When I come to the table, I come prepared, energetic, very passionate. And I think I do that in everything that I do. I have a young family. I participate in all the activities in the town, and I try my best to help out in all sorts of, I won't bore you with all the places I volunteer, because there's quite a few, but I will just summarize a little bit about myself also. I've been an educator for over 20 years. Currently I'm the principal of McCurry School. I've worked 10 years at the board office level, helping all of the schools in my division. But definitely there's a lot of knowledge and education I've gained along the way that I can use in order to give back to my community by being a councillor. I listen and support residents when they need someone to talk to, and I definitely ask the tough questions when needed. I sincerely care about the town and residents, and lastly, I'd like to say that I get results.
Thank you very much, Jason. Murray.
Well, I guess I do stuff. I work in the back, well, I hate doing this, but anyway. I work in the background. There's a lot of things that have happened that you don't know that I had involvement in, and I'm not going to tell you about all of them, but because I get involved in odd ways. Playing guitar in the hospital in Brandon 6 years ago with a dialysis patient, trying to get dialysis here for our new hospital. We got it announced today. Having many patients in the Neepawa area needing skin care with a UV booth. We now have a UV booth in the clinic. We have an incredible clinic committee headed by Arnie. And we lost. Bad timing here, right? Okay, so I guess what I want Neepawa to do is I want you to pick a council that's going to continue working in the background, whether they're on council or not. Continue working in areas of importance to the community. We have growing pains. We have to get used to changes. We have to hire urban systems to plan and help plan our future, which happened today, by the way. We need to continue hiring professionals to help guide us in this big journey. And I plan on supporting the staff in this endeavor. We've got the best staff going. I've been to a lot of municipalities. We have the best staff going. And as long as you're picking councillors, they're going to support the staff. We're going to get through these growing pains, and we're going to continue to be a very successful community, well known by all the provincial and federal levels. That's it.
Thank you, Murray. Lisa.
My name is Lisa Pottinger, born and raised here in Neepawa. We raised our family here, ran our business for 18 and a half years and then sold it, and now I work for the province. I had the privilege of serving on council from 2010 to 2014, and then I accidentally became mayor for a short time in that, in that stand. My philosophy was then, and I think still is now, is that council should set direction and policy and then get out of the way. A councillor's place is in the what and not in the how. We hire smart people to worry about the how. Council should make sure that we give direction and tools and budget and then let them do their jobs. I also believe that being a good leader means being a good listener and not just to the most vocal people. And sometimes there's more value in the quiet than in the talking.
Good stuff. Thank you, Lisa. All right, Yvonne.
So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Yvonne Sisley, and it'll be Doble on the ballot as well. I'd like to tell you a bit about myself and how I can be Neepawa's voice on council. My experience brings a wide variety of knowledge needed in order to properly represent community on council. Experiences such as being the administrator and program director at Arts Forward, working in a personal care home, working in our local elementary school, working part-time as well as full-time to raise my family, volunteering on boards and committees such as our Justice Committee, Tournament of Champions, minor hockey, the Roxy Theatre, as well as coaching and managing hockey, soccer, and minor ball. We need people on council who are willing to listen and work selflessly for the betterment of our town and surrounding communities. I'm running because I want to continue the growth and path Neepawa is on and represent residents how I would want to be represented.
Good stuff. Thank you, everybody. All right, we'll be now starting into the question period of tonight's forum. Our first questions will come from our media representatives. So I'll turn that over to Ray.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank all of you for running. It's nice to have a forum like this to hear from everybody. My question is this. Thinking about the next 4 years on council, what would your priorities be for the town?
Okay. And if you want that question reiterated at any point, don't hesitate to ask that again. I have digitized my randomizer, and our first up will be Mary Ann, followed by Brian, Jason, Dean, Daryl, Murray, Lisa, and Yvonne. So Mary Ann, you can start, and we'll give you a couple minutes to answer.
Thank you for the question. I have a question too. So it's fair, right? Who knows what the growth of Neepawa in the last 10 years in terms of population? I bet there's lots who knows here in terms of rate. Right? It is 56%. I did the math. So in another 10 years, we are projecting our population, if it's the rate we're going, we'll be looking at 8,900 in the next 10 years, which is amazing. It's growing, but growth means a lot for us. Roads, education, housing, that's the one thing that we all know. It's very common knowledge. Doesn't take a genius to figure out that we are struggling with our housing condition in Neepawa. So the strategy, the proposal that I want to do are basically based on statistics and real-time data, how how are we gonna be able to adapt to this growth? And, because if we're only providing or growing housing that is not aligned to the growth that we're expecting, then we're gonna fail. But obviously, we're doing a great job on doing that. So also with now that they announced the new location, yay, of the hospitals, it's so exciting. So we know this growth is very much gonna happen. It's not impossible for Neepawa. So that's where we're gonna be focusing in, if my candidacy is successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Brian?
Rain, can you read that question one more time?
I certainly can. Glad I wrote it down. All right, so thinking about the next 4 years on council, what would your priorities be for the town?
My priorities for the town will be to do with quality of life, and especially for families. I would like to see an expansion in recreational facilities in Neepawa, because that adds to the quality of life, and it also helps young families in terms of being more committed to Neepawa. I'd like to see some training here, because we do have a number of jobs coming to Neepawa, whether they be related to the hospital, the hotel, and I'd like to see something like ACC move back here with a personal office to keep some of the young people from moving out of Neepawa. And I think that adds to more people in the community and to a situation where there's more quality of life in the community. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Jason, same question. Priorities in the next 4 years on council.
I also want to focus on high-quality standards of service for our tax dollars. I want to see a high quality of living while maintaining our taxes as low as possible. Some of the main areas I want to focus on would be improving our roads, more recreation in Neepawa, increasing our housing, our continued development and expansion and growth, attracting more businesses and more development opportunities in our community. I want to focus on healthcare. Many residents have been telling me that they are very concerned about healthcare, even with this announcement today, but they're very concerned because they don't have a doctor currently. And they're forced to go to Brandon. And the new hospital is coming, but right now, how can we move that along a little faster to provide healthcare now? So definitely, the new hospital is important. And the last priority that I have is town safety. I think it's important to keep increasing our safety. Our town is very safe now, but it can be safer. And I have a lot of ideas that I'll share with you tonight. How about that?
Good. Thanks a lot, Jason. All right. Dean, priorities in the next 4 years on council.
And as much as Jason said earlier before, that as you go along here, things seem to be the same all the way through. So just very lightly touch on a few things here, though. I think the biggest thing is for us to be ready for a good community development plan that will suit the growth and future of our community. I've never been one on council to sit back and say, I want to see our community become this size. I've never been that way, and I want to continue to be encouraging growth, but a sustainable growth in a way that we're ready for it. And much like was mentioned with healthcare, community development is much about social and economic development. And I think the biggest side is making sure that the social side of development, which is recreation, which is just being part of a large community, but knowing that your community is small enough to know each other within it as well. One of the big things with council too, I think, is an important thing is to establish a strong process for getting ratepayers to engage in communicating to council and assist council in decision making as we go forward. So to do that, we need to come up with a good communication plan.
Good, thanks a lot, Dean. Over to you, Daryl. Priorities in the next 4 years on council.
Priorities of the next 4 years. I think when we start talking about the priorities, is to keep up with the town of Neepawa and see that we can be good stewards of the progress that we've made. Myself, the priorities I see that are of huge importance. Number one, we have to create more land accessible for development within our community. By getting more land ready for development, we're going to see lots available that we can work towards affordable housing within the community. Currently, we aren't blessed with a lot of inventory in terms of lots for housing development. Number two, recreation. Neepawa, I believe, is really at a turning point when it comes to recreation. We really are going to have to sit down collectively and discuss with the community partners, our rural partners, and look how we're going to modernize delivery of recreation within the community. The wants are many, they're long, and the needs are deep for improving that quality of life of the residents. So it's going to take us all getting down around the table, digging back out that recreation survey that was done that helped us deliver new recreation facilities and improvements in the community, and maybe looking at how we can maybe bring our rural partners to the table, how we can assist with some of our private delivery of recreation. That is, it can be of key importance. And then number three is going to be economic development. And when I say economic development, that's going to be about us finding other sources of employers within the community, what we can do to attract businesses that can also use our strong labor force that we do have in the community. All too often when we've traveled, you see, you go to communities where they don't have a workforce. We do, and it's time to find them some opportunities.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Dara. Murray, your priorities in the next 4 years upon council?
Well, to continue well past 4 years. The previous councils, prior to my involvement, were always making decisions that were long-range. Strategic planning has always been part of it, and during the next 4 years, we can't be just looking at our 4-year plan. We're looking at our 30-year plan and into the future. We have to look at the land parcels that we actually have in town. When they were asking for the site for the hospital, we provided 10 sites that were possibilities, and the province chose. Now, as a town, we are going to need to do whatever we can to provide the opportunity for developers to come in. And we tried for years on the CN property. We needed to do that ourselves. We may need to do some more of that. But by bringing in strategic planning so that you have long-range goals that make sense, we're not just parceling things as it looks good today. We've got to make sure that we're not going to be redoing and undoing bad decisions. We've got to make our good decisions all the way along the line. It may cost a little more right now, but it won't continue to cost us in the future. And my grandchildren won't be paying for my mistakes, nor will your grandchildren if we do it right.
Thank you, Murray. Lisa, your priorities in the next 4 years at Town Council?
I think it's important that we facilitate the inevitable growth that we've all talked about. We've seen more growth and dollars invested in Neepawa in the last 8 years than we saw in the previous 50, and I don't see that letting up anytime soon. Council needs to be forward-thinking, nimble, and open to change to encourage more investment here. What worked 20 years ago won't work now. So we need to look to other communities that have experienced growth and follow in their footsteps. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The other thing that I think I would like to make a priority is sorry, I'm talking 2021 numbers, of a $14.2 million annual budget. Half of that goes to fiscal services. We're paying a lot of interest on debt that was taken on previously, and so we can generate as much tax dollars as we want, but if we continue to take on debt at this rate, we've only got 50 cent dollars to spend on things going forward because we're still paying on yesterday's project. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I would like to, investigate that further, but I do know that as long as we're paying 50-cent dollars, or 50 cents of every dollar toward debt, that we need to change that a little bit. So those would be my priorities.
Thanks, Lisa. Last but not least, Yvonne, priorities in the next 4 years if you're on council.
So I think I have two big ones. Definitely the continued planning and growth and expansion by ensuring we have everything in place, which is our housing, infrastructure, roads, to attract another large employer industry in town. Right now, we basically have all of our eggs in one basket with High Life, and I think it would be very good to attract another large industry. And the other is creating a recreation umbrella, such as a board that has all the rec facilities, the RMs, the Town of Neepawa, working together to support the needs of the growing community. Daryl touched on the study that was done with Crystal and Charlene Dysart, and I think that's something that we really need to revisit, go back through and move forward on some of those ideas that came out of that study. The rec facilities too in Neepawa, I think people see like the Yellowhead and the curling rink and the golf course. Arts Forward's part of it, the library's part of it. We've got many other facilities that are part of rec, and that with all of us working together, we can bring some pretty cool programs to town. So.
Good. Thank you. Don't see Casper's, just, nope, okay. All right. So we'll go on to our public questions. So the first question is, housing access continues to be an area of concern in our community. How will you address affordable housing for families, newcomers, and townspeople under the age of 50? So we will start with Dean, Daryl, Murray, Jason, Yvonne, Lisa, Marianne, and Brian. So Dean, affordable housing for people under the age of 50. How do you address it?
The biggest thing is affordable housing is, there's an explanation of what affordable housing is in the minds of everyone is what is it? And to me it's supporting the middle to low income individuals or families that are struggling to even succeed in the community as well and live here. One of the things we've done in council in the past has been a number of incentives sort of thing for buildings. But one thing that has always been successful is private-public partnerships. Moving forward, there's things that other jurisdictions have been doing to assist for affordable housing related to individuals who meet qualifications or families who meet qualifications within low income and middle income sort of thing. And a lot of that is the immigrants that come to the community as well. Capital funding to individuals who meet qualifications would be one form. Optional property tax class for multi-residential, and rental supplements. Each one would have a defined qualifications and process for that. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation also provides funding within its group as well, related to affordable housing. There's a lot of jurisdictions throughout Canada who are trying to address this and are doing it quite successfully, and I think that's one of the things we would ask our staff to do, is to investigate that further so we can better understand what those opportunities are.
Thank you. Daryl, your thoughts on affordable housing for those under the age of 50?
Well, I think as a community, we have seen the benefit by having available land for development. We have just recently viewed, a whole neighborhood spring up in the period of about 18 to 24 months. And within that framework, we saw a lot of homes being built in that $260,000 to $270,000 average. And those were new homes that provided quality homes for young families. It provides them with the opportunity to grow and further to develop their homes. So as a community, we're going to have to look at how we can create more inventory for building houses, and so we're going to have to look at whether that's by the town seeking out those opportunities ourselves. if there's ways that we can incentivize developers who currently own land to make more lots available for this, I think that's going to be very important if we're going to improve affordable housing. Just by having an available inventory has always been the best measure of controlling price. So I believe that's where it's at, and then as well, continuing to work with a good land sale policy, a very predictable development for people who do want to come and set up these neighborhoods within our community. Those were important steps that the town took, and it's going to be important that developers and investors who come to our community know that they've got a predictable outcome to develop housing within our community.
Thank you. Murray, your thoughts on affordable housing for those under the age of 50?
Affordable housing is totally defined by the person who's doing the buying. What is affordable to one is not affordable to another, and some people may be able to afford way more or want way more. What we are currently doing is we are providing the opportunity for as many companies to come in and build houses. We have 208 right now in the plans, housing units, whether they be apartments or single family dwellings. In the past 2 years, we've had over 77 housing units built for the community. Over the years, there's been a lot of seniors housing going up. We've just had the most wonderful assisted living going up. And I'm supposed to answer for people under 50, but that was built for people under 50 because the people who are going into there are leaving their homes. And those homes are now available as affordable housing. So we just can't build for one group. We build for all the groups, I get that. But to build affordable housing is next to impossible with the prices. Building sensible housing is possible.
Thanks, Murray. All right, Jason, your thoughts on affordable housing for those under the age of 50?
The first thought that comes to mind is to offer incentives to developers to encourage them to develop their land. We have a lot of great land that's ready for development, but there's no motivation, and by offering some sort of incentive that will commit them to building blocks of housing will help support the growth of our community. Supply and demand. If we have more supply, demand will be less and the price will go down slightly, at least for new homes. We need to incentivize or encourage local landowners to develop and move forward also. We could support them in different ways, such as helping to prepare access to water and sewer and other resources that are needed. By sharing our knowledge of how we did the CN property, we can share our knowledge on rezoning and how we can plan for a neighborhood without requiring some of those larger costs. Definitely, new housing will open up old housing. So as Murray just said, the more people, Daryl, the more people we get moving into other types of housing will open up more housing options for residents. As we cannot, though, control the speed of private developers, we need to be strategic and take charge ourselves. The town needs to look at developing and preparing properties so that it can support development in a timely manner. If we look to the future for the next 10 to 20 years, we can see how the town will continue to grow and in what directions. And we should look at supporting the growth and strategic purchase and development of land that can become future residential housing. Speaking with residents, they tell me that the cost of a new home is just way too high. Even an old home is very high in our community. That being said, they're being forced to live with other people and share the cost of that rent and share the cost of that mortgage. One idea is to look at renovating our current vacant buildings into apartment-style housing that is both affordable and modest for those who prefer smaller living quarters.
Thank you, Jason. Sorry, I apologize for my coughing fit. As you all of a sudden get dry, it's like, oh my goodness. Yvonne.
We as a community need to ensure that new housing is built to meet the record-setting population growth. There has been strides made in our community with the opening of Kinsman Courts 2, which in turn, as Murray and Daryl and Jason all said, has opened homes up for families once people sold their homes to move into KK2. The multiple unit apartments being built by the new fire hall will assist in housing newcomers. The old CN property being developed into family homes and the Campbell Street apartment building will all help. The more homes and apartments available in town will offset the high prices we are currently seeing in the housing market. I think our job as council is to keep working at and encouraging more developers to invest in our community by ensuring we are welcome with infrastructure in place and as few roadblocks as possible. Sorry.
No, that's good. Good timing, good timing. All right, Lisa.
I very much want to echo what I'm hearing somewhat. In housing, I believe town council should just get out of the way. Let private enterprise do what they do best, and that's fill the need. The incentive is the return. And if it's a good return, then they will continue to fill the gaps. The town should make it desirable and easy for development to happen, and then just let it happen.
Thanks, Lisa. Mary Ann, your thoughts on affordable housing for people under the age of 50?
I did a lot of research on this one because I'm very passionate about this, and my perspective as a new immigrant. When I came to Canada, my cousin and I, we were staying at a co-op housing in Winnipeg, which provided for a low income. You know, I was making minimum wage $8 at that time, and she had 2 jobs. And you know, I've seen the mapping, the zoning of the town. Honestly, there's not a lot of lands available for us here to develop if we are really paying attention so much. A lot of our lands are agricultural. So it's either we convince the private landowners to sell or to develop, or sell it to the developer, right? So I made some, again, some research. One of the things that I want to propose, who knows, maybe it happens, it not. I'm not going to impose, but it's an idea. Co-op housing. Have we thought of this? Co-op housing, as far as I know, so I have some comparison here between owning a co-op housing, condo, single dwelling, and rental. What are the benefits? Financial liability, maintenance, repairs, community control, home equity. And I believe the co-op housing would definitely address the newcomers' income, which is very limited. And there's also not a lot of people know that there is also a rent subsidy for newcomers. I'm not sure if we are using that, utilizing that. It's there. It's a government program. Those are the things that we can provide for newcomers, number one. And number two, well, obviously the affordable housing for newcomers, with the co-op housing will definitely benefit for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Finally, Brian, your thoughts on affordable housing for those under the age of 50?
There's 2 parts to this in my mind. One is housing, and the second is affordable housing. And really, when it comes down to affordable housing, to me that's more a provincial or federal issue. It's outside the mandate of the town. And are we going to take resources which we consider scarce for the development of this town to put into housing? I don't know, that's a question that's got to be answered. I think town council can work with High Life to help speed up the housing for the new people coming into town, the newcomers. I think we can encourage subdivision development, but I don't think we want to get involved with subsidizing the housing in Neepawa. I don't think we can afford to do that as a town council and as a town.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Question number 2. Continued growth of our community is important, especially as we see the expansion and development of our new hospital, fire station, school, and hotel. How will you work to support post-secondary education access within our community so that these positions can be filled locally within our community? And we will start off, with Brian this time.
Okay. This town used to have an ACC office here and used to have ACC training. We don't anymore, and I think that's something that we should strive to get back here, is an ACC, Assiniboine Community College office, and training done here. We can also have training via distance training. I know it's working well in places like Dauphin. We can also have training in regards to online classroom training. And I think that's something that we need to do, is get back to the trainers and get them interested in being here. I work part-time for ACC as a teacher, and I think if we could get the number of students up, and we can get the courses up, especially with the new hospital, but more with the new hotel and things like that, I think the training could be here. And that's ultimately what we want, if we want to keep the people here. If the training's done in Brandon, I wonder how many of those people being trained are not going to come back to Brandon. So I'd like to see the training done somehow here, as it's been done in the past. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Jason, you're up next. What's your thoughts on education?
As an educator, I definitely have some strong convictions in this area. Many residents have indicated that they've been forced to drive to Brandon to upgrade their skills. This makes post-secondary options unavailable or limited to many of the residents of Neepawa and surrounding areas. Many do not have transportation or simply can't afford, especially with the price of fuel right now, to travel back and forth. Also, at the same time, some people have to work in order to afford to go to school and to live. So that makes it really difficult. So I think we need to support bringing back an adult education program into our community. Currently, the closest one is Minnedosa. I've actually worked, it's a 3-year process. I've actually gone through the process on establishing an adult education facility with the province. Offering flexible upgrading programs will allow residents to continue to grow and achieve important roles that will expand our community with high-skilled workers and keep residents in Neepawa while having high-paying jobs and achieving their dreams. Next, we need to attract and bring back the different colleges, as Brian had said. Assiniboine Community College and Brandon University, these programs used to be in Neepawa back at the old Resource Center. And there's lots of resources we don't currently use. Westlake Employment worked in relation with the Resource Center in order to have the facilities here as a satellite location. Right now they're in Dauphin, and instructors actually travel to that community rather than 30 students traveling to the instructor. So it just makes more sense to have them here. There's also a shortage of water treatment operators, engineers, doctors, nurses, and healthcare aides in the province. Neepawa can support this with our own needs by bringing and creating our own training center. One way to do this is to look at the community of Sandy Bay, which is near us. They actually brought in a meat cutting training center to their community, and they've had great success. So other communities have brought in RTM building facilities. Lastly, by working with our local school division, we could support the public education school system with adding apprenticeship programs right here in our own community, such as looking at a vocational or regional school, which will incorporate all of those. Thank you.
Thank you. Daryl, you're up next. How do you see, or how would you work to support post-secondary education within your community?
You know, supporting post-secondary education, I think there's a public and there's definitely a private component when we look at improving public education within the community. Now, we can look at the roots of attracting ACC back, the University of Brandon, Manitoba. You know, we've seen them work with programs with students, whether it be in agriculture out here, and you know, within the community. I would love to see ACC back in the community. We see communities all throughout the region now working with nurse training, practitioner training. You know, one of the great successes that actually happened in terms of training was with the medical clinic. And when we saw an investment by the medical clinic in just simple facilities to host training for doctors in the basement. So, I mean, there are multiple avenues that we can take to facilitate training in the community. The other one too is that we have to look at attracting private educators here as well. We can look at whether it be people training for truck driving. We see currently many people leave this region to go down to Winkler Morden to take those training. We can look at that happening within the Neepawa region. Again, we can try to build on whether it be a meat cutters program. There's a lot of private companies that deliver education as well. And we can also work with the private industries in the community and find out the training that they are needing beyond just the public needs.
Thanks, Daryl. Yvonne, you're up next.
Post-secondary education within Neepawa is absolutely critical. It was unfortunate we had lost Assiniboine Community College years ago. However, now we are in a very good position to attract Assiniboine Community College or another post-secondary school to make Neepawa their permanent home. Our population growth is the 3rd fastest in Manitoba and the 13th fastest in Canada. We have over 1,300 students that attend schools in Neepawa, and many of those students, along with many adults, are looking to post-secondary education for careers. We will require a large number of health-related positions in the future, as well as the need for trades and apprentices. So it's extremely important that the town makes it a priority to attract these schools. And I just wanted to touch base on something Jason said. The high school actually does have an apprenticeship program. We just need to expand on what they have that's existing already. So.
Thanks, Yvonne. Murray, you're up next.
Well, so I started working on a rural training center a few years ago by having my son draw the plans up on his computer, and we met with the deputy ministers for the apprenticeship program for the Department of Education. We met with the HR department with Prairie Mountain Health, and with the apprenticeship program, we were talking about the water treatment plant operators, we were talking about Class 1 truck drivers, and we almost got a program in time before the new rules kicked in. But we have to provide the location. Now, we took the resource center and repurposed its site to provide a greater need, which was the parking for the assisted living. So that was a good move. But now we have an RCMP building that is going to be vacant, and we just had to verify that it could be changed over to be a training center for under the College of Nurses. So that's done. We crawled through the rafters, verified that we can gut it and add on to it. The province has already submitted, or the Prairie Mountain Health has already submitted to the province for the LPN training program. And we're hoping to host that. The big thing is you train local, you keep local, and there's my white flag. We just have to keep providing the opportunities and building the facilities, and a vocational school is another thing that's actually being kicked around right now. So our high school's doing a good apprenticeship job. We've got a lot of our apprentices that have trained in the apprenticeship program that now have their own businesses. And Amanda has stood up.
That is your indication that you would do that. Thanks a lot, Murray. Dean, you're up next.
Yes, my notes here as well as seeing the importance of post-secondary education in our community is very important. As was mentioned, past example of success was the Neepawa Resource Center. Unfortunately, we lost that building, which is the empty lot just next to us here, and haven't had a chance to really find another location over the years as well. That is something, by what Murray's saying, is something to start up. I also thought that one location would be the possible reuse of the old hospital, what could be done with that site or that building as well as it becomes vacant after the announcement that happened today. The other side too is, again, satellite offices or services from the Assiniboine or even Red River Community College were considered in the past and looked at in the past as well, and again should be revisited. An example of is working with the, again, as mentioned, working with the school division offices here as well, and seeing what can be done within the schools themselves with apprenticeship programs, and even Highlight Foods as a business has a need for post-secondary education for increasing the knowledge of their people and training their people as well. Maybe there's more private funds that can be seen to help the success of what we do here, not just for healthcare need, but also for other needs within the community. We have a lot of young people here who can look at opportunities for working in this community. They just have the education to achieve it.
Great, thanks, Dean. Lisa, you're up next.
I don't think there's anything I can add that hasn't been said, except it occurs to me that I work for the province, and the province has been known for its glacial speed when it comes to to change. And the pandemic certainly showed me that when a need exists, that change can happen more quickly. And I think that the technology that came about because of that, because we couldn't gather but still needed to gather information, Zoom and Teams meetings and the like all became such a good tool. And I think that there is, we look back to when ACC was here physically, but I don't know that they need to necessarily be. That I think we have different options now than we've had in the past. And certainly, again, we don't need to recreate the wheel. I'm sure that they are doing more. I know even our high school is doing more distance education, offering courses when there's not enough kids to warrant a teacher. So I think that there are other options to be explored for post-secondary in Neepawa.
Thanks, Lisa. Marianne, wrap this one up for us.
Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, and my understanding is education is provincially funded. Because I'm just looking at the financials of the town and like how it's allocated, right? And I don't see anything that's allotted to education. However, yes, as a community, we know we're growing, and unfortunately, we don't have a secondary, university or college here. We're a rural area. And the one thing that the pandemic brought us or made us realize that the online education actually worked. Because even offices right now, a lot of people are working from home. And I know, and we realize that working at the hospital or at a medical facility might be a little bit unique. However, again, I'm a research woman. I'm a businesswoman. That's from my point of view. So I dig in some more information. There's actually successful programs that they have developed. And this is an online academic program offered at McGill and received the first cohort in 2021. And some schools provide lab simulation online, while others require to complete labs in person. When it comes to clinical rounds, you always need to complete the required hours at the locations. So those are great. One thing and some of the top executive, they did interviews, and the question was, would they hire someone who completed an online degree? And they said yes, they would. So what we need to do is find a program. The keyword is accredited program that is available here in Manitoba, a nursing online program. And then the question is Manitoba going to be ready for that? Which I believe a lot of the young families,
thank you, Marianne,
would benefit from
your
that.
time.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to question number 3. So where do you see the future of recreation in this community? There are limited recreational activities for young people, resulting in this age group looking elsewhere for permanent residence. As well, most recreational facilities are community operated. What solutions do you see for town-driven recreation? And we'll start that question off with Dean.
In answer to the first question, where do you see the future of recreation in this community? The future recreation will be set to meet the needs of the community with costs shared by the municipal partners. And again, it was mentioned earlier about getting other municipalities involved with the town as well, and looking at the opportunities for growth in recreation, whether it's facilities or activities, along with provincial, federal, and private funds. One of the things I see important is creating a focus group targeted toward addressing and recommending recreational opportunities for young people, because again, having the right people at the table to talk about what's important to them would be a certain factor in knowing where we're going with that. Creating a strong partnership again with our neighboring municipalities is a key to equally share the cost of town-driven recreation that benefits ratepayers. Because again, those outside our community are also benefiting from the facilities and activities that we provide within our boundaries here as well. Another thing might be looking at the recreation board as to how it's structured now, and to look at maybe a possible board of governance where it provides that group of people more leverage in what they can do and accomplish in recreation. So that's it.
Thanks, Dean. Murray, you're up next.
Well, recreation, there's, active recreation versus casual recreation. There's professional versus recreational. I don't see me ever taking over the reins of community-driven activities. The community knows what they want. They form their clubs. The people who want to be in those clubs support those clubs. You don't have people who have never curled in their life dumping money into the curling rink. We've got pickleball, basketball, figure skating, rifle club, gymnastics, choral groups, drama clubs, quilting, bike park, 4-H clubs, Boy and Girl Scouts, cross-country skiing, ice fishing, toboggan hill swimming, dog park, baseball, archery, trail walkers, rollerblading, curling, skating, hockey, and golf. Neepawa runs the bike park. And I am not about to change that. Sorry. I might lose some votes.
Okay, thanks, Murray. Jason, your views on recreation?
Recreation is one of my passions. I see firsthand how many of our community programs have many residents come to Neepawa and not leave. If they do leave, they definitely come back. Our pool is top notch, and we're currently adding the pool slide. Had to get that in there. Making it fully accessible for all users. Our golf course is rated one of the top courses to play in the province and attracts many people to our community. After speaking with many residents about what they'd like to see firsthand, I'm able to support the development of some new recreational facilities in our community, such as a new skate park. I'd like to see one that's different from the one we had, one that's in the ground, like a pool inside the ground, and you connect it to multiple pools, so they have a really nice one in Brandon that we could model off of. It's not just for skateboards, it's for bikes, it's for scooters. I want to see us continue to revitalize Riverbend Park to allow for more recreational opportunities right in our park with a splash play area for kids. The addition of more pickleball, tennis courts, and basketball courts is important. We know basketball is one of our top sports in the community these days. We also need to utilize our current organized programs. Hockey, gymnastics, figure skating, swimming, dancing, music, art, golf, and curling all have a lot of room. So we have potential to keep increasing those programs. So instead of creating a whole bunch of other new programs, let's work on those. We also need to utilize our current spaces. For example, the Yellowhead is underutilized. This summer it was open quite a bit where it could have been used. Also, we have another place like at the Flats. The rink at the Flats is just left empty for 3 months of the year. We can actually harden that surface, and that could be a basketball court right there. So we can do a lot with a little. As a rural town, we also need to support our local 4-H groups, Girl Guides, Scouts, archery, all these other activities that are important. I also believe that tourism and recreation go in hand. We need to promote our new pool slide and bike park and continue to make Neepawa the tourist destination.
Thanks, Jason. Marianne, you're up next.
I was just looking at the budget for recreation and cultural services. These are all public information, just so you guys know. That's why I have access to this. Our budget like last year was $574,000, and this year our budget is $709,447. And looking at Winnipeg, which is it's a city, looking at their budget, recreation and cultural services doesn't produce revenue. Okay, so it's more on our expense. The way I see it as a business owner, these are the specials that we provide. So people come in, they enjoy a good quality of life, and hopefully we can bring in more businesses for the local businesses. And also, we have lots and lots of great facilities here. A lot of it is outdoor, which is amazing. I hate the cold, but I'm learning to embrace that. We have the pool, we have the basketball court, volleyball court, at Crest Hill we have the flats. We have, in the summer it's a soccer field, and then in the wintertime ice skating rink. We have the bike park, which you talked about, you have back 40, right? So lots of ski trails, hiking trails. What we need to do, as far as I'm concerned, is to develop our programs so we can utilize these investments. Because if the back 40, for example, we provided, we have lots of money, put in lots of that. Some of that are grants, donation, right? However, my question is, how many people are utilizing this? How many uses do we have? So if this grant for recreation that we received, then we need to find a way how we can maximize and stretch these dollars and provide this to recreation that a lot of people will enjoy.
Thank you, Marianne. Brian, you're up next.
Okay. To me, recreation is an important component of quality of life for people. And when I look at development of current facilities and future facilities, I think they need to be judged against how well are they serving the young people. Can facilities be adapted for multiple sports? Can we have a facility that covers basketball, volleyball, gym sports and games? And investment in recreational facilities must be measured against the number of people being served, again, especially young people. Are there ways that current facilities can be modified for better usage? Is there ways that we can modify the facilities out there to have them used for a longer period of time? And Jason, I think you brought up putting asphalt down on the skating rink at the flats. So that facility can be used summer and winter. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Amanda.
Hey, Brian. Yvonne, you're up next.
I really think we need to go back to the basics on this. The recreation opportunities have slowly been increasing for children, young adults, as well as adults due to partnerships between various facilities within our community. I know at Arts Forward I have developed a very good working relationship with the town's rec department and other organizations to start bringing more opportunities and more programming, but it takes time to get people to buy into it. As Marianne said, like we have facilities. It's the programming, it's the working together, it's the community organizations saying, hey, the Yellowhead's open in the summer. Well, why don't we start doing this program there, and let's work between Arts Forward and the library, and let's get all of these facilities working together. We need a recreation umbrella. We need a board. We need some sort of guidance between these organizations to get that communication flowing. A big and critical factor is we need the surrounding RMs to be active partners in growing our recreation. All of their citizens use Neepawa as their recreation hub. So we need them on board with this, and we really need to go back and look at that report that Crystal and Charlene Dysart had done. I was part of that report, and there was a lot of good things, a lot of things that are happening now. The pool slide came out of that report. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We just need to start working together as a community and these organizations and listen to the community as to what they want. Pickleball, I'm hearing pickleball. We don't have pickleball courts yet. That's one thing people came to me, you'll get my vote if you can get us a pickleball court.
What is that?
It's coming.
What is that? Sorry, I don't even know what that is.
Well, I'm not, it's played on a tennis court?
Oh,
But yeah, so I think rec facilities, great idea. You can look at Killarney and you can look at Dauphin, two very dramatically different outcomes. Killarney's was disastrous with their multi-use rec facilities. Dauphin's was good. It takes a lot of time to get that put in place, and I think we really need to seriously look at it, all of that. So.
Thanks, Yvonne. Lisa, you're up next.
Well, first of all, I think that the question has dated. Limited recreational activities for young people resulting in the age group looking elsewhere for permanent residence. There used to be a real need. This used to be an ongoing mantra in Neepawa that there's nothing for the kids to do. And I, like Murray, made a long list, and I have some that he didn't have on that. I don't believe the town has as big a gap as it once had. And I think it's filling not just for the young people, but the drop-in center for seniors, the arts programming at Arts Forward, quilting clubs. We're seeing a lot more for all age groups. So I think the question that's being asked isn't really as pertinent a question as it once was. And I, like Murray, agree that the town shouldn't necessarily own recreational facilities. They are money loss facilities. And I'm not sure why people think that the town should own them. Because if what they're hoping then is that they won't have to put in as many volunteer hours, they have to realize then that that comes at a cost. And you can put in less hours at the rink or at the whatever your facility is, but then you got to pay for that. So when you figure that at Neepawa dollars right now, if we raised your mill rate by a half, that wouldn't even cover the cost of the existing staff that is there now at the Yellowhead. So how much more are you willing to pay in order for the town to own those facilities? Because it doesn't just happen, it has to have a trade-off.
Thanks, Lisa. Daryl, you've got the last word on recreation.
Well, recreation is a passion of mine. 5 years ago, I did work with a rec survey that was done within the community, and it was eye-opening to say the least. What communities see as recreation is dramatically different than what we saw 15, 20 years ago. Right now when we see recreation, the number one form of recreation in our community is actually walking, hiking, trails. And we've seen significant investments because of opportunities created because of development within our community. Not that the town sought out to spend money on additional recreation, but linking opportunities with development and just trying to leverage those dollars. I think it's going to be important that we work with rural partners, and if we're going to continue to deliver recreation on a wider front to a larger area, we're going to need larger participation. I also believe that recreation right now today is best in the hands of those delivery groups because they bring their passion, their understanding, and their love of what they're delivering today. I look at what's happened at Arts Forward, and we've seen the expansion of arts in our community like never before. That can't be something that an administration office drives. That is people who see, love, and appreciate arts. Now they can be supported, whether it be like continuing on with no property taxes for those facilities to operate. We can see other programs too where we can maybe facilitate coaching, like at the bike park where we can facilitate coaching for proper, safe mountain bike riding and competing. We also have private recreation developers who are investing in facilities here, and we should continue to support that because, like Lisa said, I think that question is a little dated because the recreation is like never before in the first 20 years I came to town.
Thanks, Daryl. Okay, so on to question number 4. As our community continues to grow, what do you see as key initiatives of sound urban planning to ensure we are planning not only today, but for our future? For example, ensuring streetlights, traffic planning, land and business development align with the future growth so that we can continue to expect in our community. We are going to start off with Yvonne. You get to start this time.
I have to say, I think our town has done a decent job of planning for the future. Yes, there has been issues along the way, but we wouldn't have had the growth we've had as quickly as we have had without some planning. Following a strategic plan, by following bylaws, by following the Zoning and Planning Act, and ensuring we continue to work in cooperation with various government departments, we can continue to grow and build for the future. And by future, I'm not just meaning tomorrow or the end of our term in office, but 10, 20 plus years into the future, for our kids' future and our grandkids' future. Urban revitalization also, I think, needs to be a big part of this plan. We need to look at what opportunities there may be with existing vacant buildings and properties along Mountain Avenue and Hamilton Street, for example.
Great, thanks Yvonne. Jason?
Definitely, we need to always take a balanced approach to development. It's not just about businesses and residential, but we also have to balance it out with green space and parks at the same time. I agree, we need to look 10 to 20 years ahead and plan for our town's future. What will we need to do in order to support additional industries to come to our town? We have done well in securing the clean water supply with our aquifers. We have a reservoir which gives us capacity now, complementing our water tower. We have also created a state-of-the-art sewage treatment system that is not only innovative in technology, but also expandable. Safety is one issue residents have indicated that's important to them in our planning. They want the community to be well lit. We currently have a number of areas in town that could benefit from additional streetlights. Another idea residents have told me to consider when talking with them is supporting traffic flow, considering the development of one-way streets in some areas of town. There's also the potential for adding bike lanes if we do go to one-way streets. So there is some potential to offset it with recreation. Residents have also told me that they'd like to see more sidewalks. Currently, they must walk on streets and use sidewalks that go to nowhere sometimes. These sidewalks require proper cleaning also in the winter, such as salting and sanding, in order to ensure they're safe. Right now, traffic, I think, is a huge issue, and our bigger idea is to support an alternative route in order to access those areas that are traffic jams, such as east of town. Do I still have a second, or? Okay, thanks. Sorry. The white flag.
That was your first one.
Okay, thanks. Lastly, we need to work on our streets. Work on the roads is by far our #1 concern by residents, and we need to think innovatively in order to repair our streets in a more timely manner. I have a plan that allows us to just do that, and I'll share that with you moving forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. Brian, you're up next.
I think the town of Neepawa has done a very excellent job in terms of sound urban planning. Over time, and over the last decade especially, I've seen that I think they've done a very good job. They've planned a way ahead, and they've reviewed the plan as it gets closer and closer. I agree with the comment, the infrastructure needs to be expanded with the growth of the town. I think an important part of that is working with the town staff to ensure the needs are being met. And from what I see, that looks like it's a pretty good working relationship between the town of Neepawa and the town staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Marianne, you're up next.
The way I see sound urban planning, how it would work, is with the participation of our from the local level. Because, we can plan everything here at this table, but without the participation of the local level, the urban planning could be weak. And I looked at the major global urban problems all over the world, but when I'm looking at the checklist, like really, looks like we're doing great here in Neepawa. Because really, I can't really check off anything that I can see that relates here. The only thing that sticks out to me is, again, the housing problem, the high cost of living, and those kind of things. Also, again, probably 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Neepawa did not anticipate the growth rate here in Neepawa. Just like, businesses, how many tonnage of, truck goes in now. Like High Life pass by, 6 times, 8 times a day in our roads, right? So did we anticipate that from like 10, 20 years ago? So the wear and tear of our street are more deteriorating compared to, 10, 20 years ago. So how can we help? Well, number one, like we talked about, the budget is limited. We have a lot of, we just built a lot of new investment, like the new building of RCMP. We have the lagoon there. So all those budget that we have allocated the funds, and not a lot for, for infrastructure. How can we help? Why do kids have to be dropped off at school in the summertime? Let's encourage them to walk, bike. It's a safe town. Have 2 kids, walk. So let's do it, because now we're renovating the Yellowhead, because now there's more and more traffic going in there. We did not anticipate that when we built probably the middle school.
Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you.
Daryl, you're up next.
Well, actually, I think Neepawa really is at a crossroads right now when we take a look at the urban planning that has to go on within our community. We can thank councils and administration for the last few decades that secured our water. They've taken the steps to secure our wastewater. We have a good backbone for our infrastructure to facilitate growth. Things that we're going to have to start looking at now is functional design of how that traffic flows through our community, whether it be highways. And that could be things as simple as safety, maybe reducing speed limits further out within our community to ensure it's safe for people to go to work. Functional design, that it's easier for people to get across the highway from both sides of our community. Maybe it's looking at how we can have a light that accesses north and south of the community to get onto the highway. We also can take a look at, I heard mention of bike lanes. I am a big proponent of more traffic not in vehicles. We have, especially the hills that are on streets, currently they are wide. We have room to establish bike lanes where we know we can make it safe for people to go back and forth to the school, to the flats. And then we're going to also have to look at making sure that we open up as many streets as possible. I would like to see a renewal of Brown Street going through towards the high school, getting it open again, alleviating some of the pressure that's currently on Mountain today because of that. So there is a lot that needs to be done here right away.
Thank you, Daryl. Dean, you're up next.
One of the things I mentioned a little while ago was getting the community involved as well, because it's important for the community to be on the same page as council and planning for the community. And I feel it's very important to look at what our development plans are currently and review them and even get the community involved and possibly a community roundtable. It's been a number of years since I've even known of a roundtable being held. We need to have a roundtable. Over the years, well, has been an odd round table, creating vision for the economic, physical, and social development of our community. Thankful for what's happened over the years. Yes, council has done a lot of planning, but that planning has been done in cooperation with the planning district. They've been very instrumental in that, and one of the biggest things moving forward too is relying on professionals as well. One of the successes of CN property was we actually hired an urban planner to help us develop that property as well and understand what's needed. Is we are not professionals as council, we do have some very good staff in our services, but to get the professionals to actually help us with future urban planning is very critical. The important thing as well is at this point is making sure the council is involved as a community at provincial and federal levels with communities related to highways and infrastructure. That's very critical to what we do as well, because if we have a voice at the provincial and federal level as a community, it makes a big difference. The big thing I mentioned earlier was expand our municipal boundaries. One of the things is we're becoming very land-starved, I guess, And council in the past has looked at that. I think we need to revisit that as well and expand our boundaries so we have more taxable property within the boundaries of Neepawa.
Thanks, Dean. Lisa, you're up next.
When it comes to urban planning, I'm going to look to the professionals. I'm not an urban planner, and I've never even played one on TV, so that's it.
That was short and sweet. Murray. That's a hard act to follow. I don't know.
You didn't say that.
Well, okay, so there is a plan. There is a plan for the streets. The plan for the streets is when we need sewer and water to be renewed because they are beyond repair, we dig those streets up, and so those are the streets that are going to be...
We're talking about urban planning, not number 5. Next
I'm
one
talking
is...
about urban planning.
Okay, yep. No, the next one talks about streets as well. I just thought you had gotten...
So...
Sorry.
So, you know, when we're doing these streets and these roads and all that, we've got to look down the road, where are we going to be putting all these things? So we get a lot of flack about some of our decisions, but we're looking far and beyond. And with the growth of our community, there, like Lisa says, we aren't the urban planners. You know, we plan to what we think, but there are people who have already experienced in Salmon Arm. We had people from that planned Salmon Arm there, and they're telling us how we can locate things, where we should be putting even sidewalks. So those are the sources that we need, but all along with that urban planning, part of the urban planning is how do we feed water to those places? How do we take the sewer from those places? How do we make everything work smoothly so that, yeah, it may cost a little bit more to put a 12-inch line in now, but we're going to need it in 20 years and we'll already have it. We put a line under the railroad going north, and we took a lot of flack for that. But guess what? We have a Rosedale rural water line now because we had that water line in there. And that's the type of urban planning we're able to make. Let's see, what's that, give me 30 seconds? Okay. I'll just take a rest for a moment. But the big thing is, you know, give Denis a lot of credit. He's a really smart guy. I'm glad we have him on. And, you know, and Colleen seems to get the best out of him. And he brings in the professionals. He knows how to read all the big reports.
Thank you. All right. So question number 5 is, what are the plans to repair and replace the streets and sidewalks? Road conditions have deteriorated in the past few years, and what are your priorities in terms of road and infrastructure and quality? First off, we'll have Mary Ann.
Well, again, limited budget, right? So road infrastructure, basically we need to prioritize, well, access to school, access to job, access to businesses, access to recreational, and, you know, that will definitely improve the quality of life. Because without those accessibility and those I have mentioned, it will be a lot harder for the town people to move around. And also, I agree, we have some budget, so why not invest on, you know, road, maintaining pavements, signages, markings, bridges, if we do. I know we have a little bit of bridges. Unfortunately, we live in Manitoba, Manisnoba. This is not just a Neepawa problem. We lived in Winnipeg, we lived in Dauphin. These are all struggle of, I guess, the Manitoba. The salt doesn't really help when we're clearing the roads, when we're plowing the roads. It doesn't help. And if we're not, you know, it will be very expensive to fully develop a really nice paved road. So what we're doing basically is patching, temporary solution. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to afford to do the, you know, the revamp well, when we pay off our debt with the lagoon, when we pay off our debt with other debentures, I learned big words today. Lots of big words, it's exciting. When we pay off those, and we have those hospital built, then it's about time we spend those dollars and make a really nice road for the town.
Thanks, Marianne. Lisa, you're up next.
Well, I'd like the asphalt on my street to stop peeling and rolling into my neighbor's pool.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's not much to ask. I don't have an answer for this because I don't pave and I don't pretend to know the answer, but I would be interested to know how much more tax people are willing to pay in order to move Neepawa up the list of priorities for the paving companies, because with what we have for a budget, we get what we pay for, and without being a larger customer, without putting more money toward it, we don't get better priorities. So we get pushed to the fall. We get sometimes don't get what we're asking for in the fall because the season ends. So again, it's give and take. We can't have all of the nice things without the increase of money. So how much more tax do you want to pay? And if that answer is quite high, then we will have beautiful streets and sidewalks faster.
Thanks, Lisa. Daryl, you're up next.
I guess one of the things that we've looked at as a community is we've seen how we approach street repair and maintenance. It's really progressed. You know, we have a lot of streets with some 100-year-old infrastructure underneath them that do need replaced, and to go into those streets, that is costly. It's, you know, at one time we were talking in excess of $300,000 to do one block of streets to do the infrastructure underneath it. In the last few years, we've seen recapping, so we've covered many kilometers of roads, and that extends the life expectancy of those roads. We're now looking at innovative approaches to sewer management by doing some lining of some sewers. Not to say that there hasn't been some issues along the way, but we're finding ways to extend that infrastructure. And I think we're going to have to actually review our buying process of how we go about streets and sidewalks as well. We are at the end of the season because of what we do spend. And whether it means what we have to relook at our tender process that incentivizes them to want to come sooner, or is it that we do bigger projects spaced more often, spaced with a little bit more distance in between them. We're going to have to be innovative if we want to see the service that the community wants.
Thanks, Daryl. Brian.
Replacing streets and sidewalks is part of responsible and sound long-term urban planning. And we are limited by the amount of dollars we have to spend there. Now, in a lot of cases, and I've seen one this summer, where a small project had to be done because it was putting the health and safety of the residents at risk. And it had to be done quickly, and it was. But the funds had to be taken from some other current year's scheduled project to do that. And I think we have to realize that. And then again, look at the priorities. Health and safety situation is paramount. It's got to be looked after. But overall, I think the town does a good job in replacing streets and sidewalks. The limitation is money. And do we pay higher taxes? I see some heads going no, and I see some heads going yes. It's a hard issue to decide. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Dean, you're up next.
It's really, as mentioned before, it's really a catch-22 as to, do you want beautiful streets and sidewalks? Yes, I think we all do. Yes, it is part of having a beautiful community as well. City of Winnipeg has struggled with that for years and creates the contest of this road or the worst road in order to achieve what they want to do to replace roads in the community as well. So some of that can be done if we want to see it improved, but the biggest thing is the dollars involved to do it. And yes, as Brian mentioned, an immediate project would take money from other dollars allocated for roads if it's something that's been done very quickly. But again, advanced planning by the council has always been done in the past, looking at the priorities based on location of the road and what it serves, what it does. And that continues to every year. And I think the biggest thing is to continue to revisit those plans and maybe hire someone to try to assess our roads and our infrastructure as well, so we can make better plans for what we do.
Thanks, Dean. Murray, you're up next.
First thing I do is I ask Denis to show me the blueprints that shows all the town's infrastructure underground. He has that. It shows all the levels of wear and tear on the water lines, which ones need to be replaced. So then you go to the streets where they have to be replaced. Those are the ones that get dug up within a budget level. And then you wait a year for the paving. So those are the streets that are going to get paved. Then we look at the streets, the ones that can take micro sealing. They're in pretty good shape, but we can get an extra 10 years if we spend some money on micro sealing. Micro sealing is just basically putting a skim on the surface, and the highway department did it on our passing lanes between Neepawa and Mendoza, and it's made them last that much longer. With the sidewalks, with our accessibility laws that we have now, we are replacing them as they need to be replaced with priority. On Allen Street, we used to have Eastview Lodge, and it had a wonderful sidewalk that disappeared when the street went in there and never came back. But that's because Eastview Lodge disappeared, so we didn't need that big sidewalk there anymore, and I lost that battle. So, you know, as far as planning the sidewalks, I could say we need sidewalks here, there, and everywhere. I could trip on these spots. We asked the town crew, grind those little ledges down, and etc. Or we hire the urban systems company to come in and give us our active transportation study, so we know what we're going to be doing with sidewalks in town. We have the CN subdivision over there. I could put sidewalks everywhere. They're going to give us a plan. We're going to say, that really looks good. And it's going to address the light section there when there's all the extra businesses that go there. So basically, we're looking at what needs to be done, not what everybody wants to be done. Davidson Street had threats to our town staff. They didn't realize that we had to wait for certain things. They didn't realize that we fixed the gutter system for a certain business because we waited so long. We made hard decisions. We took a lot of flack, but we had a reason.
Thanks, Murray. Yvonne.
Unfortunately, what we are dealing with is what most cities, towns, and municipalities are dealing with in regard to the aging infrastructure. The process of replacing the infrastructure is one that can be frustrating, as everybody's talked about, because it takes a long time, and we can't do it all at once. It's not even realistic to think that we can do it all at once, because the taxpayers would have to pay dearly. And while there are a great number of streets in need of repair, it doesn't make sense to pave them, then have to rip them up when the 100-year-old pipes start to break underneath, and then repave them again. That would clearly be terrible misuse of taxpayers' dollars and completely fiscally irresponsible. In order for our town to have a quality product in regard to roads and sidewalks, we do have to need to fix the infrastructure first. But that has to be done on a rotational basis, or like Murray said, you go in and you do what you know needs fixing at that point under that budget. And as frustrating as that is, and how slow the process is, basically you can't put lipstick on a pig and walk away and cost the taxpayers an extreme amount of money when the old infrastructure is eventually going to crumble underneath. That's all I can say.
Thanks, Yvonne. Jason, you've got the last word on repair of streets and sidewalks.
Wow, perfect timing too. You know, I might be a dreamer. I come with an idea that we can do this, we can tackle this problem. I have many good ideas in repairing our streets, while at the same time supporting to make Neepawa a destination. I think we can be a tourist attraction, and I want to see us known for the town with the best streets. So I'm thinking in that manner, Currently, our available budget only allows us to strategically repair a couple streets each year. As Daryl said, it's about $400,000 a street to do sewer and pavement. So I looked at that, and I looked at how many streets we have in our town. And in our town, it would take a total of 55 years to do all of the sewer and the pavement. That's unrealistic. A piece of metal is unrealistic to think it'll fly, but someone dreamed it and it happened. Planes fly. So I have this different approach. I worked on a basic plan where I calculated we could pave the top surface of every single street in Neepawa for an estimated $5 million. This could be done over the next 4-year term.
What about the infrastructure?
If we had that, the infrastructure we have to leave there. And I'll
So you're
explain
gonna
that.
pave over top of the infrastructure?
Yes,
So you're gonna spend $5 million and pave over top of the infrastructure?
yes.
Seriously?
So we're gonna pave all of our streets, and what we're gonna do is using that money that we would have spent just to do a couple streets, so that we all have really good streets while we're here today. The problem we face in repairing our streets is not just a financial issue, but it's the fact that we're at the mercy of the contractors. If a street did need sewer repair, then we would have to open it up at that time. We know we have sewers of different ages, some that are 100 years old that are working really well, some that are only 10 years old that are in need of repair. So you really can't use that thought process that you just don't know when to do the sewers. One solution is to consider also acquiring our own paving equipment. This would complement our asphalt recycler that we currently have purchased. If we did our own paving, not only could we do our community first, then we could also support and contract out services to our neighboring communities, which could be a revenue source for our town. Another idea is to build in penalty clauses with our future contracts. That way, there's more support for contractors to do our paving before other communities.
Thank you, Jason. All right. Well, that kind of concludes all of our time tonight. We've had some really interesting conversations. We've heard some really interesting ideas about some of the, just really honestly, the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that our residents are interested in knowing about how people would respond within our community. I would just like to add that I didn't hear much about what we're doing for poverty and food insecurity and actual affordable housing, which is past, people who can't afford to buy a house and the poverty within our community. And that's a whole other social aspect, and I'm sure another conversation that any of you are welcome to come in and talk with me at great lengths if you need to see what happens on a daily basis of the, I think it was 85 individuals last month that we assisted with food hampers, and the over 7,600 people over last year that we assisted in some way, shape, or form. So those are other issues that we have in our community that we haven't even touched on.
But I believe you guys are doing a great job. Salvation Army are doing a great job, partners with the other businesses. So
Yeah, absolutely, but it's a community thing that we all need to talk about.
For sure.
So we'll move on to our next part, and we're going to wrap up with closing statements. So just a reminder that you have 1 minute. We will cut you off, as you know, and we are going to start from this side of the table all the way down. So we'll start with you, Yvonne.
You didn't hear me promising you something tonight that I can't do. I have a proven track record that shows my hard work and follow through. Indigenous Culture Day is a prime example of that. I'm a team player who understands what it takes to make things happen, has forged friendships and working relationships with many different community organizations. I'm not afraid to ask tough questions and stand up for what's right. I work in the nonprofit world, which is very similar in ways to how a municipality is run, and that combined with my post-secondary education in human resource management gives me a leg up on being new to council. My background touches many key areas our residents are looking for in leadership, from healthcare to education to recreation to tourism to celebrating cultural diversity and inclusion for all, and so much in between. I'm a proponent for working together. The more our communities, organizations, and citizens can work together for the collective good, the more we will accomplish in continuing our path moving forward. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thanks, Yvonne. Lisa.
I guess in closing, I'd just like to say that I believe in common sense, I believe in collaborative work, and in moving forward. I also believe that people want to hear the truth, even if they don't agree. They want to know that they are able to count on what you tell them, and that's important to me, and I think it's important to the town of Neepawa.
Thanks, Lisa. Murray.
Well, I've given you since 2010, had a little bit of respite in that little spot, but I will continue to serve the community and the region around, because we can't do it without the region around us. I'm never going to tell you what you want to hear, but I will tell you what we can do. And I won't lie to you. And if I'm not allowed to tell you something and I have a non-disclosure agreement, I'll look you right in the face and say, you can't ask me that.
True.
But I will work honestly, and I will work for you.
Thanks, Murray. Jason.
It would be an honor to represent the citizens of Neepawa as their town councillor again, and strong councils need a good balance. I'm a family man, I'm a regular Joe, just like everyone else. I grew up humble, by humble means, and understand the value of every dollar. But I also understand that in order to do big things, you have to take big chances, and there's big opportunities that can be the end of that on the other side. I'm very creative, I think outside of the box. I'm also positive. As you've heard tonight, I bring with me an educated, common sense approach, but I also work hard to get the results. I want to get the results for Neepawa. Neepawa is already a great place to live. Neepawa is a great place to raise a family, and I want to see Neepawa strong. Together we can make Neepawa better.
Thanks, Jason. Marianne.
One thing my mom said is I'm tenacious. Did I say that right? Yes, but I don't just take no for an answer. But hopefully the courage I showed here today will inspire other Neepawans, or like the Town of Neepawa resident, to participate and to get engaged. I believe that Neepawa is really heading in the right direction, and want to help keep the momentum going and chart the course of the future for the next generation, especially for my children. I'm excited to work alongside with everybody here, because with you guys all being here just means that you want to help. You want to bring something at the table that will really benefit the town. So that's exciting. I'm excited about that. And also to my fellow Filipino immigrants, I know you guys are proud of this, we need this, and I want to make sure to make the Filipino community proud, and I'm here to be your voice and basically help everybody to immerse in the culture of the Canadian, of Canada, basically.
Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you.
Daryl.
I'll swing around back to where I started, and I talk about it being a person who puts a lot of value and discipline in. When I talk about discipline, I see challenges as opportunities. And I want to see Neepawa face as many challenges as possible in the next 4 years, because I know there is opportunity like never before in front of our community. When I started, the first time I ran for council, someone asked me where I saw the town of Neepawa, and I said, I see the town of Neepawa evolving and growing to the city of Neepawa. And I wanted to continue to work towards that. I see this community with so much, and so much of Canada is watching us right now. So I think it's time for us to step forward. And I hope I can have the support of the community to know that I'm going to keep working for them and facing as many challenges as possible.
Thanks, Daryl. Brian.
I look forward to the opportunity to serve you over the next 4 years. I'm going to talk about what I can offer Town Council, and that is working as a team member, working as part of the team, fitting in where I'm needed. Something else that I think I do very well, and I think it's very important when you're working in a group, is communication. And it's important to work within your group, communicate within your group. And I think I can do that very well. And that is the reasons that I am running for this position. To serve you as people, to work as a team member, and to communicate well.
Good, thanks a lot, Brian. Dean.
Yes, well, since coming to this community many years ago, my goal has always been to be part of serving the community and getting involved within the community as much as possible, to see the community grow as much as possible, and as well to work with the council that is dedicated to the growth of the community in a sustainable and planned fashion. One of the things in my current job is overcoming challenges, and with that business on the east side of town, there have been a lot of challenges over many years. It's been there. It continues to grow, and that is one aspect I bring to the table as well, is being able to face the challenges necessary for growth, and as well to take them in stride and go in the right direction. And I look forward to serving the community once again by returning to council.
Excellent, thanks a lot. So thank you, just on behalf of myself and for everyone in the room and watching at home. Thank you for all of you for putting your name forward to serve your community as a public servant. It is not an easy job. It is one of the most thankless jobs out there, and it is not done without challenge and wonder, right? You're never going to please everybody. You're never going to be able to please everybody in any of the situations that you become in. I think that as people who have been watching this, I hope that you will contact any of the candidates to ensure that if you have other further questions about something that they said today that resonated with you, ideas, or to ask them about questions that you didn't hear about, please reach out, make an informed decision for your vote. And I want to thank the Chamber for having me tonight. And again, thank you guys for stepping forward and being a part of the process of ensuring that Neepawa is a very strong and vibrant community that we all love. Carrie.
Thank you. A humongous thank you to Amanda. Thank you so much. A couple of other thank yous. Thank you so much to Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. She does an amazing job for the Chamber, and so I'm so thankful to give her a little bit of shout out here. As well to the Neepawa Library for bringing the event to us tonight. And of course to our candidates. We appreciate you sharing your ideas and continuing to work in our community to help us have an incredible place to work and live and recreate. And a very special thank you to all of you in attendance. We thank you so much for joining us this evening. We encourage you, as Amanda said, to get out and vote. Ask questions, but get out and vote October 26th at the Yellowhead, please. Please go out and vote. And again, my name is Carrie McPherson, and thank you so much for joining us. Safe travels and good night.